Recently, a gentleman came here to interview Guruji, and since that time, he has written back making accusations such as the sannyasis here are forced to eat meat and to be celibate. And I wanted to relate my experience with this here, being a sannyasi and a sadhaka on this path. It's been a good 13 years now. Um, and to explain how celibacy came about for me, as well as eating meat and what that is for me in my daily life. Several years before I started this path, there came about a very strong desire to begin meditation and to go within. It came out of the blue, and there was no way I could ignore it. So that's what I started doing. I spent a lot of time meditating and just sitting and looking at the mind. And it was soon after this time, I was in a relationship at the time, and that relationship fell away. It was after that that I chose on my own to not pursue relationships anymore due to the drama and also the focus being within. I honestly didn't think about it a lot or feel like, oh, now I'm going to be spiritual and be celibate. It just really was a very natural progression of, seeking earnestly that truth. And so I was celibate several years before even starting this path or meeting Guruji or knowing anything about a guru. Um, when I met Guruji several years after that, the celibacy thing was never enforced for years. Just for here, it continued with that same momentum just because that is where my focus was, and that just was a natural progression for me. It continued, and it has continued, and it has been the easiest thing. It hasn't been something that I have an aversion to, or, as far as being, sex and all that, nothing. It's not like it's a horrible thing or anything. It's just, it was a natural part of, seeking that light. So again, for someone to come and say that we're forced to be celibate, the sannyasis here, and each can speak for themselves, but, just from knowing them here, for all of us, it's been a very natural progression, and some it have been that way prior, just due to life experiences, and for them seeing that was not, that all that drama, and it wasn't working well, and it just disintegrated on its own, and then that seeking, became the primary center. So that was, oh, now I got a phone call. Well, that's how it goes. On its own. So, again, these things are totally false. To sit here and point a finger at Guruji and say she's, making us do this or that, it is so not true. You have no idea. We live a very relaxed life here. Certainly our vows are there, and we need to adhere to them, but we're not, Guruji doesn't ask about it. She doesn't make us have a checklist. I live with her here, so, really, I mean, I think, I'm right here. So, I can just tell you our daily lives, and I do a lot of my own thing. I have my own life. I have my own day. I have my own interests. Um, and she has hers in many ways. And then we come together too, and, she gives satsang and we talk, and, there's our meals, or we go and do something, and, it just kind of flows that way, but there's no rigid rules at all. In fact, that's the farthest thing from this path. And it's really the opposite. It's more to relax and go with the flow of life, and and I don't mean to say that that means you can go out and just, I don't know, I guess do whatever you want. In some ways you can do whatever you want, but you're going to pay the consequences of your choices. And for the sannyasis here, we have our vows. It's not anything that we have to struggle with. It's very much of a almost in place, I would say, for some prior to the path in some ways. I can speak that for me, not and Guruji, with all that she brought forward, only solidified that, made it clearer, made it more evident that, wow, this does make sense, keeping things very simple and stripped away of a lot of distractions as far as relationships and things go. So again, as boring as that may sound to a lot of people, I was celibate prior to coming onto the path for several years and maintained that really by my own choice. And then just in the last couple of years, it's come out to be a stronger thing to be celibate as this path has gotten refined, as Guruji has found what works and what doesn't. And for, those very serious seekers, celibacy is the best thing. She's never pushed it. If you're in a marriage or something, it's like, that's your choice to make. And so everything is about your own life choice because you live with it. You have to live with the consequences of that choice. So that's really it here as far as celibacy goes. As far as the eating meat piece of it, and I was a vegan, hardcore vegan for years, and for me, I felt like it was what I thought. It was healthier, it was cleaner, it was all these things, and yes, I didn't, as far as the killing of animals, I got into that a bit. I didn't want it. I never told people. I didn't feel, get into all that holier than thou, but just that was just where my mindset was then. And so I continued with that, and then what happened is I became very ill and very weak. I just had a lot of physical symptoms that were quite debilitating. I wasn't able to work, and I went in to see a lot of doctors, and I did go into a clinic, and it's a very well-known naturopath clinic in Seattle called Mastir Clinic, and told them my symptoms. They couldn't find anything in my blood work, so nothing showed up really, but they told me then, which was news to me, that the most illest people that come into them are vegetarians. And this is a very well-known naturopath clinic that pushes all natural medicines, all natural foods. So this was news to me. I was really shocked by it. I didn't know that, but certainly I wasn't doing so well then. And they told me to start eating meat. And I did, and I continued with that. I just let everything go because I really looked at it as medicine to get back on my feet, which I needed to do. And soon after that, I met Guruji, which she did tell me the exact same thing. And I was, wow, just, but she explained it more in terms of Kundalini, which was very full blown at that time. And as far as grounding and keeping things, giving you more substance so that the consciousness and the thoughts don't get all airy-fairy and scattered, and which was definitely what was taking place. So, and I kept eating it until I started feeling better. And after about a month, there was so much more strength. I had so much more strength. I had more vitality. I, was sleeping better. I was able to get back to work. I was more stable in my emotions. All of this by eating meat, really, as well as meeting Guruji and her pointings. The meat, though, without that, I don't think I could have concentrated on what was being said hardly, really. So I needed that to even have a foundation in place to begin to listen and begin to move forward, which is what I wanted in my heart, is to go forward to liberation. So that, and then after that, I naturally do not desire meat daily. That's just me. So I probably eat it 4 times a week, maybe 5, sometimes 3. I don't know. I don't keep track of it, but I get it in, and it's not forced. It's a very natural sometimes I desire it, sometimes I don't. And, my health's been really quite stable in the last while. And, um, just I don't get as all that lightheadedness and all this. The emotions are more stable, and that's continued throughout the years. So, um, it's not anything forced. And Guruji's not making us check things off a list, or, as I say, it is just very much, you know, I mean, I just know for myself and my own direct experience, I could see the absolute difference of the eating meat and not eating meat. And I just, I let all the philosophy go around it. I just ate it and I'm feeling better. And I totally understand Guruji's reasoning around it. And it just helps just to hear it and have that confirmed, and why it is important, because it's not like it's we're out there to try to hurt animals, or we want to get into that and support any of that. It just is strictly for really for health reasons and giving some grounding and substance. So this is the situation here, as far as the eating meat and the celibacy. Um, it just and as far as Guruji goes, and it just, all of the accusations coming towards her are just, um, it makes us very sad to see that here, because it's so, all of it is 100% false. And where it's coming from, it has, there's no facts behind it. No one asks us here what it's like, what it's not like, what our daily life is like. Um, and they just run on this, maybe a couple things they've heard, or they either that, or they just want to go out and point a finger at somebody, and she has to take her time to answer it and try to shed light on these things. And she gives all she can in that way, because it just, whether and it's going to penetrate or not is another story. But yeah, I'm here to say that our lives are not as people are making it out to be, like we're penned up. I mean, and we're kind of either at our feet, or we've got all these rigid rules. I mean, it really, this path is just the opposite, in terms of just letting go of all that rigidity and relaxing, and just enjoying. And there's responsibilities and there's vows, certainly, and those are, one does with their complete focus and attention, and then they're on to some, the next thing. But it's just not all that, at all. Just, I read some of the stuff and I'm just, well, where did this come from? This is so away from the reality of things here. And I just feel very, very blessed to be here and to have the community here, and just to be around all of the energies here, and the all the space that's provided here. It just continues to keep things very much focused on the truth. It keeps things very centered for me. I just, and also everything's deepening more and getting much more stable, and that's all due to Guru's grace. And we know what's here, the sannyasis. We really don't have to explain it. We know where things were at prior to coming onto the path and where they are now. And people, and none of what's said in the least shakes our dedication, and it won't. I don't care what it is. It just makes us sad to see that Guruji has to take her time to deal with this nonsense. I mean, really, it's just such a false thing. You're wasting your breath. And the people that do buy into these accusations are just with that same mindset. They want to hear these negatives, and honestly, it's. I'm just here to say that it's so far away from what's here, and I'm sad to see it. I hope that you can really wake up and go on, and do something more beneficial with your day, because all it does is create a headache, and it's nothing's going to change here. The path in the this path is going to be what it is. So, and we're glad we want it. It's obviously made amazing transformations in all of our lives here, and it's where we're going to stay. So, all right, namaste.